This cinema starts with 4 friends sit by the pool at a Cancun resort. Amy and Stacy, 2 best friends, are on vacation with their boyfriends Jeff and Eric. When Amy becomes aware that she has lost an earring, a boy Matthias finds it at the bottom of the pool and returns it to her. Thankful, they offer him to share a drink with them, and Hans ends up inviting them to join him and his friend Dmitri on a visit to an ancient ruin that his brother and wife are excavating. The 6 have struggled finding a taxi to take them to the ruins, and end up paying a local truck driver to take them there. At the edge of the jungle, they find the brothers' truck abandoned on a dirt road. Matthias looks confused, but they agree to go ahead and look for the ruins themselves. They wander through the jungle until they finally come across a clearing, and a high ancient ruin stands before them. Whereas they all stand raptured at this hidden secret, the sound of horses and shouting men suddenly comes from behind them. The 6 vacationers turn around in surprise and repeatedly try to find out what they clearly have done wrong. Men came from the jungle with bows and arrows, and an older man in the middle holds a silver revolver, staring them down. Amy stands in the back with her camera, and is instinctively taking pictures with her camera, not realizing how much danger they are in. The men instantly turn violent, and when Dmitri tries to hand over the camera in a sign of apology, he is shot in the chest with an arrow, and then shot in the face. Confused, the friends retreat back from the men, up the ruins. Strangely enough, the men do not follow them, but do not leave the clearing. At the top of the summit, Matthias scrambles around looking for his cousins in the tents that they discovered. The others check their phones, but can't get a signal. Matthias finds the tents unpacked, but there is no sign of his cousin. Meanwhile, he discovers his brother's dead body and he cries for him. Coming from the bottom of a deep shaft in the middle of the summit, they hear a cell phone ringing distantly. Despairing for a phone, Matthias circles a rope around him, and the other boys lower him slowly down the shaft by an overhead crank. It is slow going, until suddenly the rope cracks and Matthias falls to the bottom. While the boys repair the rope, Stacy agrees to go down the shaft after Matthias and the phone. They lower her slowly down the line, but it is not quite long enough to take her all of the way. Stacy unhooks herself from the rope to drop to the dirt floor, but lands on a lamp with her knee. Having to pull out a shard of glass from her knee, Stacy flinches and limps towards Matthias. He says that he is scared and cannot feel his legs. It's clear that his back is broken, so the remainder on the surface fashion a backboard to load him up on. Amy, at her wit's end, storms down the steps of the ruins to meet their captors. When she gets the bottom and shouts at them to help, they shout back in a language that she doesn't understand. Jeff runs to drag her away from the men, and out of frustration and anger, Amy rips a large chunk of some of the vines that cover the ruins and throws it at the threatening men. It hits a small boy and harmlessly falls to his feet, but the captors quickly turn their attention to the little boy and shout at him, gesturing towards the ruins. The boy cries in fear, and after refusing to move, he is shot with bows and arrows down to the ground, while his mother looks on. Jeff and Amy run back to the top. Now it is Amy's turn to be lowered into the shaft at the bottom. She and Stacy struggle to lift Matthias on the backboard. All are lifted to the surface, and they analysis the damage. While Jeff, a pre-med student, inspects Matthias' wounds, they all debate about what to do about their situation, and said that what they saw to Stacy and Eric. They are all completely confused, and decide to wait for someone to come find them and go to sleep in the tent. In the next morning, Stacy wakes up shouting. She looks down at her leg, and one of the vines from the ruins is clearly growing into the large cut she had on her knee. Shouting to have it taken out, Chris speedily goes to pull out the vine, and removes about a foot of greenage from her leg. They call for Jeff to take a look, while Amy stands by Matthias to check on him. Sweating and looking gray, Matthias asks Amy to pull the blanket from off of his body. He senses something is wrong with his legs. She helps and cries as well, when they see that a huge amount of vines has grown overnight all over his lower half. They try to remove it the best they can, but he is brutally injured and has cuts all over his skin. Amy knows what is going on now. They are being isolated from whatever evil lurks in the ruins. The cell phone rings again from the shaft, and Stacy and Amy once again go down into the shaft to look for it. Armed with handmade torches, they begin a search of the inside, which is covered in the ominous vines. As they walk slowly down a hall, they hear the phone ringing again, a high-pitched call. A woman lies with her back to them against a wall, and when they touch her, her body falls to the side and the friends scream. Calming themselves to continue with the search, Amy stares at one of the red flowers that now adorn the vines. As she gets closer, she can see that the inside of the red flower is vibrating. It, along with the other flowers, are actually recreating the sound of a cell phone ring by vibrating their stamens. Mesmerized, She goes to touch the flower, and the vines suddenly rear up in protest. The girls run to escape the vines' clutches, and are pulled up out of the shaft just in time. Clearing up what happened to them in the shaft, Jeff checks Matthia's wounds, and says that there is no way that he will be able to survive if they don't remove his legs immediately. Since help is not definite, Jeff says that there is no time to waste. Eric disputes, and they put it to a vote. Unable to come to a consent, Matthias weakly calls out to them that he wants them to do it. The girls go to the tent, while Jeff heats up a cast iron cooking pan in the fire. Eric is told to hold down Matthias, while Jeff breaks both leg bones and cuts them off with a hunting knife they found, and lastly cauterizes them with the pan. Stacy and Amy clutch each other holding their ears, while they try to block out the screams. They come out when it is over, and watch as the vines repossess the remaining flesh that Jeff had cut away. The vines are clearly carnivorous, and are waiting for them all to die. Another day gone by, Stacy and Amy go into one of the tents to try and sleep while Eric sits outside on watch. Amy can't sleep, and sits next to Eric while they talk about if they think Stacy is going to be alright. When Amy begins to cry, she leans her head into Eric's shoulder as they sit on a log. Stacy, inside the tent, awakens to the apparent moans and sighs that she believes is coming from Eric and Amy having relationship. Furious, she storms out of the tent and accuses the both of them of sleeping together, insisting that she heard them. Amy and Eric both deny it. When Jeff walks up to see what the commotion is, Stacy screams at Amy, and when Jeff tries to intervene, she lashes out and tells him that Amy has cheated on him before. While the four friends argue, they leave Matthias unguarded, and the vines come from the ruins and choke him. When they finally understand that they left him unattended, Jeff runs to his rescue, but is too late. The vines claim the remainder of his body. In the morning, Amy and Jeff sit next to each other at the top of the steps watching the sunrise. Eric emerges from his tent and asks Jeff to come see Stacy. It is clear that something is very wrong. They enter the tent, and Eric tells Stacy to show them her back. She lifts her shirt and reveals a dark green patch growing under her skin, and a vine slithers like a snake under the surface. Outside, they decide that they have to cut it out of her. Amy clutches her while Stacy shouts in pain. Jeff cuts a large slash by her knee, and grabs the vine that is attempting to burrow further into her leg. They ask her if she wants them to continue, and she cries out to tell them to keep going. They turn her on her back, and Jeff makes a larger cut, pulling out foot after foot of vine from her back. Lastly removed, they bandage her the best they can. Later, sitting by the fire, they each eat the last of the remaining food, 4 solitary grapes. Stacy looks slightly hysterical and insists that she can feel another one by her bones. Eric says her that it's just in her head, but she then says that she can feel them in her head as well. They convince her that there isn't anything else in her body, and Amy gives her a pull from the bottle of tequila they found in the tent. Stacy drinks, and a flash of the wiggling vine shows up on her furrowed brow. The 3 friends' eyes open wide, and immediately look away so she can't see their reactions. Their silence says it all, and she tells them to cut again. Jeff says that there can't be any more cutting. She has already lost too much blood. All 4 asleep. Stacy awakens first and walks out of the tent. She hobbles along searching for the hunting knife that they used to cut out the vines the other day. Eric wakes up, and all 3 come out from the tent to find Stacy standing in a pool of her own blood, slowly cutting herself to attempt and remove the invading weeds. They tell her to give them the knife, but she is clearly beyond reason. When Jeff tries to get her to hand it over, she lashes out and cuts him in the palm. Eric now tries to get her attention, and she turns and cruelly stabs the knife into his chest. Eric falls to the ground and dies from the knife wound, and the vines once again come forward to claim their meal. Stacy, screaming from the pain and realizing what she has just done, begs Amy to kill her. While she begs, small vines surf from the cuts on her body. Amy aspects pleadingly at Jeff, and Jeff quietly walks to Eric's body and puts Stacy out of her pain. Jeff now smears blood on Amy's face and arms, and explains to her that she must run, while he creates a diversion. He walks down the steps holding her, seemingly dead, in his arms, and lays her down on the ground. The men, still there, watch him warily, while Jeff starts a long tirade about himself and the people that they had let die. He wanders along the edge of the ruins, and on cue, Amy gets up quickly and runs as fast as likely towards the abandoned jeep they found earlier. The men shoot Jeff with several arrows, and the large man shoots him with the final bullet. Amy, chased by the men, extremely be able to reach the jeep and starts the jeep. She speeds away, down the road, and we can see her face with Vine. The next day, Dimitri's 2 other friends that had planned to join them entered the spot, calling out their missing friend's name. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe our channel for more videos. Like, share and hit your comments.